I'm actually really excited that more people are going to be getting into gardening. This is why I said to Kate, we need to do these videos because it's so awesome that at this time people are going to think about gardening when they never did before. I mean, if you have a 4x8 patch of lawn you can sacrifice, you can grow a lot of nutrient-dense food in a short amount of space, and I'm really excited that more people will take advantage of this.
Hey guys, welcome to our social distancing
Virtual fist bump.
sister videos here. Our families are both self-isolated.
From each other.
From each other, from everybody. But Anna needed to milk the cow this morning. So I'm Kate from Venison for Dinner, and this is my sister Anna, who is my neighbor up the road. We share a lot of farming together, and it makes it tricky in times like right now. So today we are outside my greenhouse, having our usual after milking coffee.
Well distanced.
Well distanced. Today we're going to chat with you about how we are changing our gardening plans with the current world events. This is a huge topic right now amongst homesteaders and just amongst our other sister, just pretend she's here, and our mom. In our group chat, we've been talking a lot about how we have been changing our plans for this year, so we thought we would share with you, kind of talk it through what we're doing different this year in light of world events. So Anna is a flower farmer. She sells bouquets and bulk flowers to
wholesalers, florists, directly to the public. We are working with brides this year, but who knows what weddings there will be with all these cancellations. But I got my start gardening vegetables when I moved up here. I never really gardened much growing up. And once I moved up north, I had my own property, and all of a sudden you feel much greater pride and sense of place when you're gardening on your own land. So it really took off once I moved up here, and I've been growing a large market garden for about 10 years now.
So my gardening background is that I did a little bit growing up. Kind of Anna's 5 years older than me, and my mom and I started doing some container gardening. By the time I was in my late teens, we did have a small vegetable garden. Mostly I spent a lot of time killing things and wasting money on seeds and starts. Then once I moved out of the house, I did the odd bit of gardening, but was never really successful. My husband grew up gardening a lot, and in their family it wasn't like, oh, we garden because it's a nice hobby. It's like, we won't financially make it through the winter unless we grow potatoes and as many vegetables as we can to go with the wild game and wild fish. So he grew up from, how would you describe it?
Garden like you can't get to the store.
Garden like you can't get to the store, because they had many seasons where their family could not afford to grocery shop. So they depended on their garden. Us, it was like, hey, this is fun. We're going to plant some lettuce so that we can grow our own Caesar salad.
And my only gardening growing up was I started a business doing weeding and yard work and garden maintenance for a bunch of rich old people. So I really just weeded and tried to avoid snakes.
So we bought this property. Will be our third gardening season on this property. The first gardening season, we moved here in July, so it doesn't really count. We didn't have things figured out. I tried a few things. It didn't work. We really just started too late for our gardening season. We are in, as you can tell by our hats and such, we are in a colder season. Our garden zone is like a 2-3.
So we're at zone 3. We're on the warmer side of 3 here because of our exposure. Kate is probably slightly colder than I am up the hill. For the USDA, for the United States, the zone that we are in is a 3-4. For the Canadian zones, it's a 2-3.
Okay, there you go. So I live in kind of a dip, like a holler, so I collect cold where I live, whereas Anna's on a hillside.
All the frost goes from my house straight down to her house. So she'll get frost when I don't. But she also gets green grass before I do.
So it's all hit and miss. Anyways, last year we planted lots of potatoes, lots of brassicas like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, all the cold hardy things. We tried lots of different like squashes and melons that Anna started so far ahead of time, or we bought starts of, and those were all a bust. Even if the plants did decently, we got nothing worth writing home about to harvest. So this year, I had been convincing my husband that, like, we didn't need so many potatoes. Like, we can cool down on the potatoes. He planted a lot last year. And my plan was to not start anything from seed that I could just buy at the nursery. I would just direct seed and buy stuff at the nursery. But with everything going on right now, that is totally changed for me.
And for the first time in a decade, I decided I was going to stop trying to start my vegetable starts because I have to start so many flower starts for my business because those aren't things you can find in a nursery. So I just decided that I was going to not buy any vegetable starts at all, and biting me in the butt now.
And now we find ourselves pulling out broccoli seeds because what if the grower, the nursery, what if people go and buy them out before we can get there? You know, are people going to be panic garden buying too? And we just need to rely on our self-reliance as much as possible.
It does mean that the nurseries might not be anticipating the demand, and we need more starts to ourselves.
One of our aunts pulled up one of her flower gardens, Auntie Kathleen, and is planting vegetables. Because she's like, this year, I don't need more flowers, I need more vegetables. And so I'm seeing things like that. I'm seeing people buying milk cows. Like, so many more people buying milk cows. So many more people buying chickens. So many more people looking at what they can grow themselves. Small farms are being bought out of all the supply they can demand. Like, all the demand they can supply.
It's an amazing time for small farmers because people are going to look around them and realize that we do not need to get things shipped in from even the other side of the country because those things aren't happening right now. And I hate to say it, but it's such a silver lining because it is going to be amazing for so many people to realize or rediscover the value in small farms. In the 1950s, when there was a quarantine, or the 1918s for the Spanish flu, this sort of thing wasn't an issue because all the food was in the chain locally anyways, and we've gone away from that. And I'm not trying to sound all crazy homesteader backwoods survival, but it is amazing that more people are going to rediscover that they can provide what they need for an enriched life close to home.
A bison farmer I know in Alberta, Lori from Backwoods Buffalo, they have been processing extra bison because they have such a high demand. They're butchering more bison that they were going to ship or something like that because they have such high demand. And to me, that's exciting that so many people are turning to this, that even though there's so many crazy things going on right now, it's the revival of local food.
It was coming this way anyways, and I certainly don't wish for all the stress on people, but it's also pretty awesome. I think there's a lot of staples, potatoes, garlic. You guys realize that most of the garlic in your stores comes from California or China. I'm pretty much regretting not planting 5 times the amount of garlic last fall.
Yeah, so when you're thinking about what you might want to grow more of if you're a gardener this year, I wouldn't be thinking towards growing more varieties of things, but growing how can you extend your harvest for what's in the ground, like growing, shorter season things, longer season things, but also what can you easily freeze, what can you easily can, what can you dry. Those should be the things that we're focusing on for gardening. As much as it's exciting to plant multiple different lettuces, there's really no way to preserve lettuce. So if you're a gardener, I would love to know, has this changed your gardening this year? If so, you better tell us down below in the comments how this has shaped your homestead plans for the year. And I'm looking forward to reading the comments on this because I know you guys are really going to inspire me with how you are shaping your homestead for this season.